Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. So more on the Deontay Wilder front, and apparently Bob Arum has explained that Shelley Finkel probably didn't even read the contract properly when it was signed and agreed for February 22nd this year. Now, this does sound like something Shelley Finkel would do considering all of what has gone on in the past and all of the emails and all of that he has shown to the media from Eddie Hearn, Matchroom and Anthony Joshua. I mean, if you look at that, this guy clearly isn't professional because when he was going to announce something like there was an offer received from Matchroom or they were in talks for Anthony Joshua with Wilder, he would go straight to the media and answer the questions through them. So this guy is clearly very unprofessional, and maybe he has even cost his fighter an opportunity to face Tyson Fury, the WBC World Champion. Now, I don't think it's just down to that. I think that it's not just down to bad management. I think that Wilder, I don't know if he does want the fight or not because he hasn't said anything. I mean, we'll be able to tell straight away. If he comes out putting on this act like, I want this fight, I still wanted it, I wanted to get back in there and avenge my loss, then we're going to be able to tell within a few moments whether he's putting on an act. He often does during his career anyway. We see him talking, acting, and it just doesn't look real. Compare that to someone like Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Dillian White, Andy Ruiz. It's real, you can see it is real, but with Wilder, it just looks like a circus act. Now this is what Bob Arum had to say about this whole situation, the contracts and Wilder, and more importantly, Shelley Finkel. That's absolutely not true, I don't know what he's talking about. Not only has our lawyers read the plain language of the contract, but Fury has Robert Davis as his lawyer in the UK. He has read the contract. The contract is clear. Shelley Finkel can say what he wants. The thing is that's crazy about it. The last time I talked to Shelley Finkel was the night of the fight, after Wilder had been beat by Fury, and I haven't talked to him since. So Shelley hides in the bushes, and then when he sees something adverse to his fighter or himself happens, then he comes out and makes statements. I am sure, absolutely sure, not knowing, but I think Shelley Finkel has never read the contract. So there we go, that is what Bob Arum has had to say about Shelley Finkel. So, I mean, to say that he hasn't read the contract, I mean, we don't know that, that's just speculation, but you would think that that's possibly true considering they have allowed the contract to run out, and considering Fury's lawyers and Bob Arum's lawyers are going over the contract to ensure that it stipulates that they are not forced into a fight with Deontay Wilder. That kind of means the contract has run out, so there is a glaring fault on someone's behalf in Team Wilder, Shelley Finkel, once again. Because Shelley Finkel was supposed to be the one going over this, he was supposed to be the one who ensured Wilder was in a safe position provided he lost that fight. Obviously, they believe they're going to win, they're fighters, but I mean, there has to be something put into the contract if they are championed and they want to ensure they have a rematch if the worst does happen, which it did, then ultimately it is Shelley Finkel's job to ensure that his fighter is protected, and he hasn't done that. I mean, yeah, they can be so confident as to they don't need a rematch clause, but that is just stupid considering they're going in there with someone like Fury. There was obviously a rematch clause in there, but clearly they missed one thing out. There was obviously no stipulation in place that enforced the possibility of something like the pandemic, meaning that the contract was allowed to run out. So during a pandemic like this, or something like this at all, the contract should not be allowed to run its course, but it has. And considering that this fight took place towards the end of February, I mean, we knew what direction it was kind of going in. I mean, we didn't know it was going to get like it was, but the warning signs were there with the pandemic. So you would think that anyway, no matter what happens, you would have that put into the contract, but when there is the possibility of something like this happening in the world, you would definitely make sure there was a stipulation in the contract that says if there is something that allows the contract to run out, then that is extended for the period that we lose. But clearly Team Wilder have failed to ensure that, and it is true what Bob Arum is saying. Shelley Finkel hides in the bushes and then comes out when something happens. When there is media access or media coverage to be had, that is when he pipes up. That's only when he has ever piped up. I mean, in the negotiations for AJ versus Wilder, which was never going to happen, and I think it's clear to see that maybe Wilder didn't want it, but I think that Shelley Finkel was the one who was standing mostly in the way. I mean, he was saying that Eddie Hearn was childish for his antics, but what about Shelley Finkel? And Even Bob Arum cannot stand the guy. And he is proving to be a thorn in the side of Deontay Wilder because Wilder no longer gets this fight against Tyson Fury, and that is down to poor management on Shelley Finkel's behalf. I mean, there clearly is no contract that stipulates Deontay Wilder must fight Tyson Fury next. It's up, it's done. If they have lawyers going over the contract ensuring that they are able to move on from Wilder and come back to the UK on December 5th and potentially fight Caballero or Takam, those are the opponents they are looking at. But if they are able to do that and the lawyers say it's okay, 2 separate lawyers as well, then I'm guessing that it's okay. So Fury no longer has to fight Deontay Wilder. That is over, it's done. And I think we will all agree, we're happy with that. We didn't really want to see this third fight anyway because we don't know what's going to happen because Wilder has dynamite in that right hand. All he has to do is land it, then he's WBC champion again. But it's just we're fed up with this whole dynamic. We've had it for the past, 2 years? So it is time to move on to something different, to a new dynamic. Get Tyson Fury in there with someone else. Yes, we're getting Caballero possibly, but I mean, it's not no worse than Wilder. It can't be. Or maybe Carlos Takam, that is one that is being talked about as well. I have said from the start I would have liked it to have been Michael Hunter, but clearly it's not going to be. It's going to be a different fighter. And yeah, Caballero's not great. I mean, he had a good win over Derek Chisora, a very lackluster Derek Chisora in Monte Carlo. So he has that win and that is how they will sell the fight. Plus, he's undefeated. So again, how they will sell the fight. Tyson Fury is fighting this undefeated challenger who previously beat Derek Chisora 3 years ago. So that's how they're going to play it off. But in this situation with Deontay Wilder, I think we're all glad to be moving on from it. And I think that it is something going on behind the scenes. Wilder clearly doesn't have the right team behind him. And maybe he did allow this contract to run its course. Maybe he just didn't want to come out in the media because there are going to be so many questions. What happened? Was it the costume? Was it the gloves? Do you agree with all of these conspiracy theories? Where did they start? What about your training partners? What they have said? He's not ready to answer those kind of questions, so he's going to stay away. He doesn't want that kind of heat on him at the moment. He likes the good press, where everyone is blowing smoke up his backside. That is the kind of press he likes, the media access. And he's not going to get that, considering he's going to be fighting Tyson Fury again. Well, not anymore, but if he was, he would get so many questions that he is not yet ready to answer, and that is probably the reason why he hasn't come near the media since his loss to Tyson Fury. It's not easy, I get that. I understand that Wilder is going to be finding it difficult during this period. He's a guy with an extremely large ego, and his bubble got burst on February 22nd, but what he must do is dust himself down, get back up and continue. And that is not going to be easy for Wilder at this point. I hope he does. I want to see him back in the ring. I want to see him in there with Ruiz, with Parker, with maybe even Tyson Fury again down the line, even though that's not really interesting. Maybe AJ. I do want to see him in those kind of fights, so I hope he does come back, but at the moment, he is clearly going to take a hiatus from boxing, and that is either down to him or maybe even Shelley Finkel or something else entirely, but that is clearly what is going to happen. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.